Hello, and welcome to another episode of Bare Bones Wargaming, a show with no bells, no frills, bleh, no whistles, just a man, a camera, and his game. This episode, we're going to talk a little bit about Storm in the East, Operation Barbarossa, from White Dog Games, designed by Steve Pohl. Now, again, I'm trying something new this time. So we'll see how it goes, see what you think, and we'll take it from there. And why is that? Because, well, what's my new thing? Let's put it this way. My new thing is, let me back this up for a second, is a segment I like to call the BBWOT, the Bare Bones Wargaming Opinion Time. That's the focus of this episode, and it is about Storm in the East. And what are we going to focus on? Well, let me put it to you this way. And I have to put it to this way so I don't get in any copyright trouble. As you can see, we're going to do this review of the good, the bad, and the ugly. Alright. So, literally, that's what I'm going to do here. I literally have made a chart. I'll show you the chart, but as you will see in about 10 seconds, my handwriting, ever since I was a child, is atrocious. Sorry about that. I know it's frightening. But, it's my little list here, and by using a dry erase board, I'm being friendly to the environment. So, here we go. Let's talk about it. Alright, let's start with the good. The good. The depot system. I like it. Overall, I think it's very interesting and very clever the way it's integrated into the game. The only thing I'm thinking about toying with on my own is once depot chains are established, maybe just needing them for forward areas. Again, that's just an idea, but I do like the concept. I think it's a very cool way to do logistics. It's not too cumbersome, which of course is always the trick with logistics. You don't want to make it too cumbersome because, again, let's face it, most of us are not, running out to get, quartermaster the game. I mean, okay, quartermaster general is a little different, but let's be honest. If it was really quartermaster general, you'd be counting boxes of ammunition and figuring out train schedules and stuff like that. Okay, so, all right, another thing that's good, plays pretty quick. Okay, once you get the hang of it, and again, remember with my videos, since I'm trying to give you everything in detail, the pace is a little bit slower. But once you get the hang of this, it moves pretty fast. And of course, as you can also see from, I haven't touched the board since the last time we talked, there's not a whole lot of units on the board. And that becomes less so as we move along here. Because the Germans get no replacements. That's right, none. And the Russians, the only replacements they get, as I said in the previous video, is if the unit's on the board. You can't bring anybody back, so to speak, from the dead. You can't reorganize anybody and bring them back. And, well, we'll talk more about that in a minute. Another thing that's part of the good, the random event cards. Like the idea. I'm a big fan of random events. I've never made any bones about that, because life is full of uncertainty. As one of my favorite sayings is, anything can happen, and it often does. And no place is that truer than warfare. I mean, seriously, if you don't like luck factors, you need to go play, I don't even know what, chess. Yes, because there's no luck in chess. Unless, of course, I guess you could argue and say, well, if somebody misses a move or, time trouble or something like that. But strictly speaking, ceteris paribus, there's no luck in chess. So if you don't like luck, don't play war games. That's all. I'm sorry. There's no other way to put it. Just don't do it. Okay? Because it's full of luck. It's crazy. The map. I do like the map. Okay? The map's pretty straightforward. I mean, it's nothing fancy, but I like the way it's laid out. The rivers are clear. The bridges are clear. The color scheme is clear. The only thing I don't like is it's a tiny bit small for the pieces. There are the stack markers, but you only get 8 of them. And, excuse me, as you can see here, I've never used the Soviet ones at all. See, they're still intact. I haven't needed them because I can't get enough Soviet units on the board to need a stack marker. Okay. Counters, I like the counters. The counters, I've always liked White Dog's counters because they're nice, they're thick, they're easy. Even when I was having trouble last video trying to manipulate things, they were still easy to move around, so I like that. Okay. Basically, another thing that I do think is part of the good is that as the Germans, you can risk pushing, and you can risk getting your forces hammered because the Russians can't replace eliminated units. So there's no reason not to take German casualties. So you really can push it and kind of see, hey, if the Germans had just been, like thrown caution to the wind, what might have happened there. I also like the fact that you can make pockets in this game. That's another good thing about the game. You can make the pockets, and the other thing I like is it takes time to reduce them. As you saw in my gameplay through, I attacked units in a pocket because I was like, am I going to maintain this pocket? Do I want to maintain this pocket? I should be sending units this way. There is that trade-off. Yeah, every time, hey, that supply check comes around, but it is a trade-off. Reducing those pockets takes time, and I think it's important, in my opinion, for an East Front game to have that element to it, that reduction of pockets, because it's necessary to do so. Okay. And of course, the other thing I like about the pocket aspect is if there isn't a Soviet commander in the pocket, they can't fight their way out. And a lot of times, the Russian units had trouble doing that. Now, granted, a lot of people did take matters into their own hands, and, when you think certain death is around the corner, you're willing to do lots of stuff. But, yeah. I like the fact that you can experiment with this, too. There's a lot of things that you can look at with this game. You could shift your forces to the south of the Pripyat marshes. You could go directly for Leningrad, which was something that, quite frankly, Hitler emphasized a lot in the original planning stages, which the German General Staff was like, okay, whatever. Moscow, hello, give me an M. Okay. And the stacking. I actually like the stacking because since the numbers on the counters deal with the stacking, it's real quick and easy to figure that out. That's just simple math. So that is also part of the good. 9 good things. Now, let's talk about the bad. The German first turn, the resource points is variable. I mean, in some ways, I guess you could just say that could reflect, like the Balkan campaign or something like that. But, yeah, I just, I don't know. I'm just not a big fan of it, so that's why I'm saying it's kind of bad. When I say bad, I kind of mean things that, are things that make people pause and go, well, I don't know about that. It's not necessarily like a deal breaker for me. It's not like, holy cow. That's what the ugly's for. We'll get to that category in a little bit here. Okay. This might be nitpicking, but I'm going to do it anyway under the bad. In the rules, it talks about the sit-ru situation. I mean, I know most wargamers are going to know what that means, but I don't know. I just think there's a better way to articulate it. That's all. I just think can be confusing to people that are trying to learn war games and stuff. So, yeah, that's just my opinion about that. Another thing can be sometimes the record keeping. Whenever you have a force that doesn't incur any casualties, you don't have to use it again right away, but you're going to have to find a way to mark it to remember that, hey, they can still attack a second time and they can attack at full strength. And there isn't any markers provided in the game to do that. I've done it with the attacker-defender markers different ways by rotating them and stuff, but that can be, to me, a little tedious. It can slow the game down a bit, which is funny because you would think a logistical thing would, but this actually does. And again, a bad thing kind of goes hand in hand with the good thing. What I said before about the Germans, you can risk the casualties, but that's also a bad thing too, because then you can turn the game, quite frankly, into a big version of Verdun. Where you're just trying to bleed the Russians, just attack every Russian unit. And you know what? Even if I take casualties, because I only take half the casualties that the defender does, bam, 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 bam. Again, it's like Verdun. Hey, I don't care how we do it. Let's just kill as many of the enemy as we can. And I'm not a big fan of that. I mean, I'm a big fan of it from the German perspective, because it's like, yeah, I could maybe win Barbarossa, which, let's be honest, most of us East Front gamers, that's what we're trying to do, aren't we? We're trying to win Barbarossa, And, yeah, it's just, so it's a double-edged sword, I guess, that one. Another thing is card manifest. There really needs to be a card manifest for this. Why do I say that? Let me show you. Check this out. Look at this card. Now, if you're part of the older wargaming crowd, which there are a lot of us, how on earth are you supposed to read that? Seriously, look at that. There should be like a little separate paper or booklet or something that's a manifest of all the cards and what it says, because that is just, that's small, man. That is small, and I'm only 40 some years old, and that's small, man. That's just, yeah. Okay. All right. And then the other thing that I have under the bad category. Wait a minute. Let me make sure I have another thing here. Maybe that was the only other. Maybe there wasn't another one under the bad one. No, actually, I think that might have been it. Okay, the ugly. Here's where it gets ugly. UGLY. Ain't got no alibi. A few things here that are ugly about all this is I just can't get away from the fact that the Soviets cannot take eliminated units and replace them. Because then it's like the Russians start to run out of men. And that's the one thing that they didn't do. That was the one thing that the Germans were stunned and being like, dude, where do all these people keep coming from? You know, mein Gott, we just got ahead and bagged, 300,000, 400,000. And it's like, holy, Bolshevik, which basically in German just means bad story, by the way, for those of you playing along at home. It's like, dude, what Wiener Schnitzel? How is this possible? And the Russians do start to run out of units. And I just can't wrap my head around that. That's just, it's ugly. It's ugly. Okay. I'll let you help judge on this too. But check out the setup card here. Look at this. Look how tiny this print is. And the other thing I want you to notice is right here where my thumb is. See where that says 2ARM? Why is there no space there? A couple of times when I first started reading this, where's an infantry one? That looked like 21 infantry. Now, I mean, if you think I'm crazy, by all means in the comments, please say, you know what, Tim, you have lost your ever-loving mind, man. But it's just, in the color scheme, ugh. Oh, nothing jumps off the page at you. It's just, ugh. Woo! Yeah. I'm not a fan of that. Speaking of cards, there's no player aid card. Okay? So if you want to find some of the information that's here, like, okay, let me show you. So we got our occupancies factor table. Okay. And let's see. Oh, and I've got all this information about how I can build a depot. And I got my movement table. And then I got all these combat modifiers that are just in a written form. Excuse me. There is, it's not like a list anywhere. Yeah, there needs to be a player aid card for this. Beyond the manifesto, card manifesto, or manifesto, yeah, not manifesto, manifesto. You know what I'm trying to say. It's late, what can I tell you? Alright, so, yeah, those are the three ugly things, in my opinion, about this game. So, yeah. Alright, so in the end, what do I think? I gotta be honest with you, I'm really torn about this. There's a lot of things I like about the game, but there's a couple of things that I struggle with. I see a lot of potential here, but again, I mean, just the fact that the Soviets cannot replace eliminated units. I have a hard time with that. The fact that the Germans can be, basically take a Doritos approach, munch all you want, we'll make more. Or not, because it doesn't matter, because there aren't hordes of Russians over the next part of the steppe waiting there being like, dude, what's up? How you doing? Why are you in our country? I just have a hard time with that. And, yeah, I just, that's a hard one for me. So, so in the end, again, this is a hard one for me. It really is. Am I going to keep the game? Yes, I am going to keep the game. Because I can see myself playing with it, but also tinkering with it too. To be quite honest about it all. It's, oh! I know what the other thing was on the bad. I knew there was one more bugging me. The other thing on the bad was there's no differentiation between the combat ability of Axis minor allies and the German units. Oh, and that's the other thing too. The combined arms. That was the other thing. I made a note for myself, and I couldn't remember what CA was. Combined arms, like when you can use armor and infantry and artillery together. If one of those gets weakened, then you can't use it. They have to be full strength. I kind of understand and I kind of don't understand. I understand in the sense of, okay, so everybody's not up to snuff, so to speak. But there's still dudes there. So even if my tanks were weakened, I still have some tanks that I could use in a combined arms effort. So why not, like if it's +4 for everybody, what if, one of them is weakened and instead of +4, it's +3? Yeah, that's under the bad. I don't quite understand why it's an all or nothing, like Frank Sinatra, all or nothing, I just don't quite understand that. So, sorry, this is the first time I'm trying this format too, so you know how it is the first time you try something. There's always going to be some little, kinks to work out, some little, not the Ray Davies types, but there's always going to be, some hiccups, if you will. So in the end, I would say that if you are into the East Front as much as I am, you probably will enjoy exploring this game, because I do think there's some elements here that you could house rule, that you could try, and you could make those little adjustments within this framework, because I think the framework overall works pretty well. And that was part of the reason I took so long to think about this, because I see a lot that's really, really good here. It's kind of like having, I'm trying to think here, what would be a good analogy. It's kind of like, American football, having a good left tackle who, he's got the size, he's got the strength, he's got all those things, but, he has this one area that he needs work on, or like a quarterback. An American football team. He's got the arm, he's got the vision, he can do the reads, but he needs to work on his footwork. He needs to set his feet before he throws, and dude, he is so not doing it. And that's the way I kind of feel about these couple of ugly things that I've mentioned. Not so much the bad, because again, to me, bad is basically saying things that, that could annoy people, that could bother people. They kind of, they obviously bother me some. That's why, I kind of went with that there, the bad. But the ugly is really, the big thing is the replacements. That just sticks a bat in my belfry, for lack of a better way to put it. So, to put a period, I guess, on the end of a sentence there. So in the end, I would say that this game is worth getting if you like the East Front. If you're looking for a different take on it, this is definitely worth getting, because this is very different from any other East Front game I've played. That much I will say for sure. And again, I like the logistic part. So if you really like logistics in your war games, this would be up your alley. But again, there's just a few things that I'm not so sure about the take on in this particular game. And again, I'm the owner of, roughly around 50 East Front games and almost 100 books on the subject, of which I've read almost all of them. And it's just those couple of things that stand out. Those things just kind of stick there. So I guess if you can overlook those things is what I'm saying here. If you're watch my videos and you're thinking about this yourself and you look at the rules and stuff, if you can get past that, then this is a game that is a lot of fun. It is a very interesting game. Even the victory conditions are interesting, because you only have to get, you need to get, Leningrad, Moscow, Stalino are basically your big three objectives in this game that you're going after here. And again, I don't know how much the replacement thing is an issue for a longer game, but for this Barbarossa game, it really, it does feel like the Russians just run out of people. And I mean, I know they were being bled white left and right, but I don't know. I don't know, maybe doing something like, allowing the Russians to bring in eliminated units, but then add a mandatory attack kind of thing, like you find in Hitler Turns East, which is part of the Four Roads to Moscow package, which is a game that I enjoy a lot, that covers the Barbarossa period. Actually, if you like the Barbarossa period, all 4 games, well, I'm sorry, 3 games in one, what in the world was that? Yeah, there's one game in that set that's just like, whoa, worst game I've ever seen in my life. If you're interested in that, it's called Strike the Bear. Check out my review on Board Game Geek under Four Roads to Moscow. I reviewed all 4 games after playing all of them about somewhere around the neighborhood of 3 to 5 times. That one was really bad. So, yeah. So bottom line is, this game is going to stay in my collection. I will mess with it from time to time, but honestly, I will tweak it some too, just to see what happens. Maybe I'm wrong about this. And as I get more plays in, because it is such a different take, an interesting take, a unique take on the Barbarossa campaign, maybe it does all work out in the end, and maybe it all does fall into place after a while. But right now, it just doesn't feel like that. So I guess what I'm saying is that if you really like the Eastern Front, you like Barbarossa in particular, I would say picking up this game is worth the effort. On the other hand, to be completely honest about it, if your funds are limited, most of us, our funds are limited, you might want to wait a little bit and see what adjustments or house rules pop up, or discussions and stuff on Board Game Geek. I mean, I've seen some discussion already about strategy and stuff like that. But again, I'm just giving you my impression. And, that's the whole point of all this, is I'm giving you my impression. I'm giving you the information of the previous video with the playthrough. You go ahead and make your own decision. But, that's how I see it. And to quote a line from a movie I know, all I see, or what I see, is all I have to offer here. So, for better, for worse, for what it's worth, that's how I see it. So, again, when you look at the 3 categories here that I have, the good, there's almost 10 good things about the game that I really enjoy. And the uglies only got 3. And 2 of those, quite frankly, I'll be completely honest about it, let's be frank, they're production issues. The setup card and the no player aid card. It's not really about the design. So there's only really one big design issue here. And just for me, it's a hard one to deal with and to kind of wrap my head around. So that's my personal opinion. Okay. Next time, I have no idea. I'll be completely honest with you. I don't know what I'm going to be bringing to you next time. We'll see. I have no clue right now. Although I will say, Board Game Geek is such a good thing and a bad thing. I did notice they finally released a version of Russia Besieged Deluxe, Compass Games did. And it's on sale right now. It's normally $99. It's on sale for $75. I ordered it this morning. And I cannot wait to get my grubby paws on it. Especially when I saw the changes. Because I do actually own the L2 version. But there are so many changes. And the biggest one that sold to me, I'm not going to lie, was the map and the fact that all the counters are 5/8 inch. That is awesome. Especially, as you get older, your eyesight's not what it used to be. Those 5/8 counters really do come in handy. And I'm saying this from personal experience. So, that'll be coming. At some point I will share that. I'm just not sure when. But I might take a little step back and, go back and play something that I've already shared with you all, like Cataclysm. Something like that. But, yeah. So, that's what I'm kind of thinking about there. And then eventually, to be honest with you all, I'm going to be slowing down here probably in about a month. Because my second little man is going to be on the way here. He's due at the first half of September. And obviously, those of you who have kids and have had kids, that really gobbles up time when you start to have 2 of them. So I will try to post things within a reasonable framework of time and stuff. And I'm even thinking of some quote-unquote special episodes, like, my favorite East Front games or stuff like that. Just to kind of keep things, active and moving, and still share things with you. Although, obviously, my bread and butter here is the playthroughs. That's the big thing. So this is a little departure for me. So I would appreciate any comments related to the format with the reviews. If you would rather I just do it like I've done it before, where I just give my thoughts off the top of my head without really organizing it too much, a little more stream of consciousness approach, if you will, that's fine. Either way, you know, I just thought I would experiment with this and see how it turns out. So, those are all my thoughts on A Storm in the East. So, this has been Tim Korchner from Bare Bones Wargaming, saying thanks for watching, and, you know, I bet the next time I see y'all, it's going to be from the East Front again, because it probably will be Russia besieged. I just don't know how long that'll be. So we'll see. So, thanks for watching, and see you next episode.